Hello everybody, welcome to this week's midweek thought for the day on Facebook Live and then later on YouTube and repeated on Facebook. We're going to start today with the poem and then I'm going to say a few things about it. So if you didn't know, we're getting poems from this book, Terry Waite, Out of the Silence, and this week's poem is called Numbers. He entered my office, tall, debonair, a well-cut suit and polished brown shoes projected assurance. "I have a solution for you." The words flew quickly from his anxious lips. No time for pleasantries, no pause to order coffee. He fumbled in an inner pocket. A scribbled note thrust hastily across my desk. "Read it," he commanded, his eyes fastened intently on the jottings, as though they might fly from the room and escape the clutch of their creator. "Read it quickly, time is precious." I scanned the incomprehensible numbers. What does it mean? A naive question. Now assurance had flown, the tie was loosened, and acute distress crossed the contours of his face. "Look, can't you see? Ireland, the solution. 3, 5, 894, 28. Later, he left his wife and disappeared from the face of the earth. Did numbers ever reconcile his inner contradictions? Was he ever reconciled within? 3, 5, 894, 28. He walked away, leaving me with numbers and many questions. I found that a very interesting poem, and Terry says of it, "The following lines speak of a visit to my office in Lambeth made over 40 years ago, but still fresh in my mind." So this made me think about mental health, poor mental health, people who have poor mental health, and a little incident that happens in the Gospels. It's described in Matthew and Mark, but I'm going to read us a little bit from Mark. So I'm going to read from Mark chapter 3, and it begins kind of in the middle of verse 19. "Then Jesus went home, and the crowd came together again, so they could not even eat. When his family heard it, they went out to restrain him, for people were saying, 'He has gone out of his mind.' And the scribes who came down from Jerusalem said, 'He has Beelzebub, and by the ruler of the demons he cast out demons.' And he called to them and spoke to them in parables. 'How can Satan cast out Satan? If a kingdom is divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. And if a house is divided against itself, that house will not be able to stand. And if Satan has risen up against himself and is divided, he cannot stand, but his end has come. But no one can enter a strong man's house and plunder his property without first tying up the strong man, and indeed the house can be plundered. Truly, I tell you, people will be forgiven their sins and whatever blasphemies they utter, but whoever blasphemes against the Holy Spirit can never have forgiveness, but is guilty of an eternal sin. For they had said, 'He has an unclean spirit.' Then his mother and brothers came, and standing outside, they sent to him and called him. A crowd was sitting around him, and they said to him, 'Your mother and your brothers and sisters are outside, asking for you.' And he replied, 'Who are my mother and my brothers?' And looking at those who sat around him, he said, 'Here are my mother and my brothers. Whoever does the will of God is my brother and sister and mother.'" So some time ago, I was thinking about this passage, and what struck me was that they had Jesus's mother Mary and his brothers had received the message that a lot of people even these days receive, the kind of phone call or email, normally a phone call or something that says, "We think your relative is really very, very unwell, mad, unsafe, unwell, delusional," whatever word comes with that request. You need to come and sort them out and check and see for yourself. So if you read back in Mark's Gospel, I know we were looking at the very beginning of Mark's Gospel very recently, but if you look back in Mark's Gospel, Jesus has done a lot of healing and a lot of sorting out of people, and we see through Jesus's ministry that he ministers to people who have what we would now describe as really very poor mental health, a mental illness. Jesus ministers to them through his ministry, but he has already done a lot of healings before we get to this situation, and they are saying that he is from the devil. Now, this is a very serious topic, but we're going to have a small aside, because one of the funniest things, and possibly the only thing that's really made me laugh this week, is the whole people who misspell "please sanitize your hands" to "please satanize your hands," which yes, is a terrible spelling mistake, and hand sanitizer is not going to satanize your hands, but hopefully it is going to sanitize them. So Jesus says, he makes a very reasoned argument that if he's casting out demons as people would perceive that, and if he's from Satan, why would he do that? He makes this argument, and then he says, when his mother and brothers have been sent to sort him out, he says, "You judge. You be my mother and my brothers and my sisters. You judge whether I am mad or not." This homily has a very poor end to it, because there's not a simple take-home message from this, I guess, and that's the case when we're dealing with issues of poor mental health. They're not simple. It's not simple, ever simple, especially if someone's having delusions or psychosis. It's not simple. It's really hard to understand. Sometimes I talk about it being like somebody has their reality like one circle of a Venn diagram, and then your reality might be like another circle of a Venn diagram, and it may be that actually these Venn diagrams seem like they're never actually going to meet up, that there'll be no common reality, and that's quite a difficult place to be, especially if you're trying to care for somebody in that situation. Jesus healed all sorts of people. Jesus was accused of being mentally unwell himself, but in a little sneak preview to the Sunday, the Zoom service on Sunday is using the verses for the week. And this week, the gospel passage has that little bit where Jesus is asked, what's the most important things? And Jesus says, the most important things are that you love God. Commandment number 1, love God. And commandment 2, love one another. And that comes into this a lot. We're not going to be able to necessarily have all the solutions for somebody who has really, really poor mental health. We can help them as best we can. We can help them gain access to the medical services that they need, but we can love them. We can love them. And that is going to be something that we're going to think about. What does it mean to love on Sunday? So if you or someone you know is really struggling with your mental health at the moment, I'd just like to say, please go and find the help that you need. Go to your GP, go with someone that you love, seek help. There are lots of helplines and pages on the internet. Even just find a friend to talk to about it, whether it's your mental health or your friends or your relatives' mental health. If you're struggling, find some support and work on loving those people that are struggling at the moment. Okay, difficult topic for today. A very challenging poem for us today. So I hope if it stirred up any issues, please get in touch with someone who can help you. You know where to get in touch with me as well. I can signpost you in some directions if you need to. Okay, I'll speak to you soon. Bye.